My name is David. I grew up with social anxiety and lost 2 decades of my life because I let social anxiety control my life. But after working on myself and exposing myself to people, I got a bunch of lessons. I wish that I had these videos in our channel so that I was able to overcome my social anxiety years ago. And if you want to be less anxious around people and just be good at talking to people, this is the right channel for you. On our way to a wedding. But I am super anxious and nervous because one, there will be a lot of people in this wedding. And the second, the people that I used to go to church with are gonna be here. Adults and guys my age. And for some reason, being around guys my age was one of my biggest fears because I would believe that they're gonna reject me, or they're gonna think that I'm stupid, or they're gonna think that I'm a loser. Anyway, we just got into the entrance and the ceremony is about to start. So I start walking towards my seat. But as I'm walking towards my seat, I see that the people that I used to go to church with are here. I keep on walking towards my seat, but I just feel like everyone is looking and staring at me. And worse, they are looking at me, judging me, and thinking, he's such a loser. I bet that he has no friends. Look at him. His clothes, his hair, he just looks weird and stupid. Every guy here has figured things out. They're going to college, they're doing something for their lives, except for this guy. So not only I was nervous because of all of the people that were around me, but I got more anxious because of all of the things that people were thinking about me. As I'm walking, I'm pretending that I have not seen him just because I'm avoiding having a small talk with them. I just walked past them, and as I'm taking my seat, I just remember something super important about social anxiety. I learned that there's something called inner critic, which is basically a negative voice that every person that has social anxiety has this. And this voice was making me think that everyone was thinking that about me. The reality was that everything was in my head. So as I'm taking my seat, all of a sudden I got excited. And I was like, hold on 1 second. No one is thinking that about me. I'm not a loser, and no one is thinking that about me. Everything is in my head. When I thought about that, I felt free. I felt like something changed inside of me. The ceremony just ended, and I see that there's a guy by the sodas. So I went up to him and I approached him and I was like, hey, what's up, bro? How are you today? We fist bump and everything. He smiled back. And I was like, damn, man, he must be thinking that I'm actually cool. And I see that there's a cute girl walking by and I smiled to her and I was like, hey, how are you today? And she smiled back to me. Everything changed just because I understood this one thing. I'd be like, dude, what the fuck does the Spiderman Green Goblin have to do with social anxiety, right? Let me explain that. We all remember Green Goblin, right? The Green Goblin is basically one of the villains that appears on Spider-Man 1. So in this movie, we have this guy named Norman Osborn. And when he puts the mask of the Green Goblin on, his personality completely changes. When the mask is on, he becomes more aggressive and more powerful. And when he has the mask on, he's no longer Norman Osborn. He becomes the Green Goblin. The mask takes over and controls Norman.
Coward. We have a new world to conquer. You make me sick.
Leave me alone, please.
Hiding in the shadows. Hiding from who you truly are.
Oh.
You can't escape yourself.
The same way Norman stops being Norman when he has the mask on, it was the same way for me when this voice would appear. I would no longer be David. I would become an anxious, awkward version of David. I would let this voice control me. When he puts the mask of the Green Goblin, his personality changes. And when this voice would appear, my personality would completely change. When the mask is on, he becomes more aggressive and more powerful. When this voice appears, I become more anxious and awkward. The same way that Norman was controlled by this mask, the same way I was controlled by this voice and the things that was telling about me. So the more that I would hear and believe this voice, the more nervous and anxious I would get with people. For example, if I am in the middle of a conversation with a good looking girl, right? She's cute, she's pretty, and I'm talking to her, this voice would appear, right? The inner critic, the Green Goblin. I bet you that she's super bored. You have no personality. Or let's say I'm in the middle of a conversation with a guy at the gym, and this voice would say something like, he's thinking that you're awkward. Or someone really, really needs to check their phone, right? When they're talking to me. You see? You're boring. They prefer to be on their phone rather than being talking to you. Right? So all of these things were not real and were not facts. But the problem is, I would believe that these things are real. I would believe that people are thinking that about me because they feel real. Right? But the reality is that they are super false. Why? Because after having an interaction with the same person, let's say I'm talking to this cute girl, and in my head, this voice would make me believe and think that, oh, she's thinking that you're ugly. She's thinking that you have no personality. She's bored, right? I would have a conversation with the same person, and I would find that they had a completely perception about me. And that was like super interesting, right? Their opinion, perception was completely different than what this voice was telling me about me. This is insane, right? I want you to, and this is just insane for me, right? Because let's say I'm talking to someone, or I'm talking to a guy or a girl. This voice is making me think, and I feel like, oh shit, I'm being boring to this person. I feel like I have no personality. But in reality, this person would be like, dude, you're so funny, man. Like, you made me laugh. And I'd be like, what the actual fuck? Right? Like, this person is thinking that I'm funny. Right? The first time that people would be like that, the first time that people would tell me like good things about myself, either, oh my god, bro, like you work really hard, or like you're really disciplined, or I see that you're grinding, or things like that, right? Whenever they would give me a compliment, I wouldn't believe them. I wouldn't believe them because my mind was lying to me, because I was listening to the Green Goblin. I was listening to the inner critic, and that's why I couldn't see the good in me, right? Oh my god, bro, you're good looking. Oh my god, bro, you are good at talking to people. What the fuck do you mean? No, I'm not. Right? The reality is that they can see things that I couldn't see in myself, and that's the beauty of it, right? So, and I remember that I have so much examples, but one of the specific examples are, this happened like years ago. I went on a date with a girl, and in my head I was like, oh my god, I'm being weird. She probably thinks that I suck. When I dropped her off, she's gonna be like, I'm not texting this guy. I don't wanna go on another date with this guy, right? That's what I was thinking in the middle of the conversation with her. The next day, I woke up to a message saying that she had one of the best times ever, and she loves my energy, and she wants to keep dating me, right? It was my voice, the inner critic, the Green Goblin was lying to me. And I remember that I met one of my best friend's girlfriends at Starbucks. So I live in New York, and I went all the way to, I met this guy online, by the way. So I met this guy in person for the first time. It was November of last year, so almost a year ago. And I remember that when I went and visited this guy, it was like my first time meeting this guy. I met his parents, I met his friends, I met his girlfriend as well. And I remember that when I met his girlfriend, I was like really anxious and really nervous, right? And I remember that we were on a table, and this guy fucking left, and I was like, dude, why the fuck did you leave, bro? Why are you leaving me alone with your girlfriend? Because like, I was just too afraid of being awkward. I was like, shit, this is gonna be awkward. This conversation is gonna suck, right? We started talking about like one of my passions, which is like reading books about the mind, psychology, and all of that. But the thing is that I remember that I thought that she was thinking that I was awkward, that I was weird, that I suck, that she was thinking, oh, why the fuck is my boyfriend dating this fucking loser, right? That's what I was thinking. But then months passed, and I had a conversation with him, and I was like, yeah, bro, like sometimes I feel like I'm being awkward, and I have social anxiety, this and that. And then he tells me, bro, I don't know what the fuck you're telling me. I don't know why you believe that. Everyone here, all of my friends, my parents, my girlfriend loves you, man. And my girlfriend was like, oh my god, he's super good at talking to people, and he's super interesting. That's crazy, right? Like, I was like, dude, oh my god, I'm being so awkward. Oh my god, I suck. Why did I say that? But she was like, he's super good at talking to people. He's an extrovert. And I was like, holy shit, I was so wrong. And it's not that I was wrong. It's because I was scammed and hypnotized by this voice, by the Green Goblin, by the inner critic. And that's the thing, is the problem was never me or my social skills or how boring I am or how awkward I was. The problem was that I had this voice in my head telling me all of these things that I would believe, right? So it is the same thing, right? When we see the Green Goblin is telling, and it's basically lying to Norman. It's trying to control him. It's telling him, you're weak, you are pathetic, you're a coward, right? It's lying to him. And Norman believes him. And that's why he listens and believes whatever the mask, whatever Green Goblin is telling him. And that's why he let the mask controls him. And he turns into a aggressive and more of like a villain because of the mask. It is the same thing. I had a mask on, which it was the inner critic. And even to this day, right? Even to this day, it comes and it appears, right? You're being awkward. Your friends doesn't like you, right? Because it's like, we can say that we have an anxious brain, and that's totally fine, right? Little by little, I'm changing my brain. But the point here is, I don't give power to this voice anymore. And that's the best thing. I don't give power to this voice anymore. So whenever I see this, like, you see, it's so funny. Like, the way that I'm putting myself as an example, but I'm pretty sure that this happens to you too. But the way that I interpret things they are super, like, there's a huge distortion of reality, right? Someone checks their phone. If I am on a car with my friend and he turns the volume up, right? As an anxious person, you tend to think, oh my god, he's turning the volume up because he's awkward. He doesn't want to talk to me because he thinks that I'm boring. But that's not the reality. It's just the inner critic was lying to me. And the way that I broke this cycle is that I realized that all of these things are false. Realizing that this voice was super negative and this voice was not telling me the truth was the first step for me to be like, holy shit, maybe I am not that awkward. Maybe I am good at talking to people. Maybe I have a personality. Because I stopped to listen to these things. I stopped to listen to this voice seriously. Because if you really pay attention, and I'm going to talk about that. If you really pay attention, and this is the thing, I paid attention, and I'd be like, dude, this voice is so stupid and so negative. And that's why I'm not taking this voice serious anymore. Because, like, dude, it's just japping bullshit, things that are not true, right? So this is the thing. I understood that social anxiety means, right, social anxiety. So anxiety is basically a distortion of reality, meaning that something is not real but it feels real, right? Which is crazy. In this case, for us, it's kind of like a distortion of reality with people, right? So we think that, oh my god, like, I would think that people are, if I give a compliment, they're gonna look at me in a weird way. But I have given compliments. I have approached people, strangers. I've made people laugh. And when I see that, I just notice their smile, and I'm like, holy shit, my mind, their distortion of reality, my anxiety made me believe that if I say this thing, people were gonna look at me weird and reject me. But I have the courage to say something, and then I see that the outcome is something different. Hopefully that makes sense. Because they smile, but then in my head I was like, oh shit, they're gonna think that I was weird, right? That's what I used to believe. So that was for me. It was, my anxiety was, quote unquote, protecting me and lying to me. And the beautiful part is that I understood that I was better at talking to people than what my mind was telling me. The girls that I would talk to, are not thinking that I am awkward, boring, ugly, stupid. They are not. It was all in my head. And the first step was to realize that this is not me, it's the inner critic. Whenever I would hear this voice, whenever I would be like, oh shit, they are thinking that I'm awkward. No, they are not thinking that. This negative voice, inner critic, is thinking that I'm awkward. And this is why I believe that I'm being awkward. And that's why my identity was based on this voice, right? It's kind of like, once again, like Norman and the Green Goblin. So I had to separate myself from it. And I gave it a name. I call it the Green Goblin. Oh, the Green Goblin is yapping now. Oh, she thinks that you're ugly. Oh, really? Why? Oh, that guy thinks that you're stupid. Really? Right? Whenever I hear this voice, I'm like, it's just the Green Goblin speaking to me right now. It's just yapping right now, right? So the second thing that I did was to question these statements. Right? So the first thing is basically be aware of it and give it a name. Because when you give it a name, you're able to separate yourself from it. And that's what I did. And when I was at a wedding, I remember that, everyone was thinking, he's such a loser. I bet that he has no friends, right? His clothes, his hair look weird, right? This is the second thing. And there's something called the interview analog. I don't remember the names, but these are basically practices that help you to be free from the inner critic. And this is what I did. I analyzed it. I was like, okay, is this true? Let's analyze it, right? Everyone is thinking that I'm loser. Really? If everyone is looking at me, judging me, thinking that I'm loser, that means that I am more important than the person that is getting married. Right? Because if everyone is looking at me, I'm more important than them. Oh, everyone thinks that I'm a loser. Right? And this is another thing. If I open myself to possibilities, just open myself to a different reality. Everyone thinks that I'm a loser. Okay, first thing first, not everyone is thinking that about me. Maybe some people, few guys are thinking that about me. Maybe. And that might not even be the case. And the last thing is, if I open myself to possibilities, maybe the girl that was sitting over there was thinking that I'm actually attractive. Maybe the guy that I fist bump and that I approach, he's thinking, oh shit, what a nice, cool guy. He came up to me and he approached me. He was like, yo, what's up, guy? He's a cool guy. And this is another thing, I question it. I was like, maybe not everyone is thinking that about me. And why the fuck are they thinking that I'm a loser in the first place? There's no evidence. Why? Even if I tripped, oh, he's a loser. There's no real evidence. Right? So that's the thing that set me free. Is first knowing that this is not me. And second knowing that these things are so stupid that are not real. The girls are not thinking that you're stupid, awkward, boring. Guys are not thinking that you're a loser, or that you are awkward. No one is thinking so negative. No one is thinking that about you. And we act more awkward when we believe that these things are true. When I think, I remember that this happened to me. I was like, what about when I'm talking to people? This voice would be in my head. People are thinking you're awkward. I was like, what about if it's not? What about if I'm not being awkward? And I tested it, and I was like, well, I am awkward if I think that I'm awkward, because in reality I am not being awkward. Because if I'm in the middle of a conversation with you and I'm thinking I'm being awkward, then I'm being awkward because I'm obsessed with what you think about me, and then I'm not going to pay attention, and then I don't know what to say. Everything comes from your head, from your mind. That's the thing. So the action step is basically give the inner critic a name and be aware of the inner critic. Listen to it. Don't judge it. listen to it. Or it's thinking that that girl over there thinks that I'm a loser. Okay, it's the inner critic. Thank you, inner critic. Shut up, inner critic. Thank you for letting me know. Right? And I call it the Green Goblin. Okay, Green Goblin is thinking that about me. And then question the voice. And then if you want me to, basically, I made like a guide that I can send you over, because I don't want to make this too long. But I can send that over so that you can basically, this will help you tremendously to be less anxious around people, because you will quiet the inner critic. So if you want me, I'm gonna leave the link in the description. You can send me a DM so you can go and apply this. And thank you for watching.